When I speak to my children about the future, my children are 30 and 35, they are saying there is no such thing, the good future, because the future looks dark. Now, I want to explain to you why I think the future is better than we think. Education is the key to this future, and changing who we are is key in all of this. The most important part is to think about what is a good future. Good would mean not starving, not dying, civil rights, rights to have a family, freedom, expression, growth. That will be defined as good. Today, we live in a world where many things we thought were good are not turning out so well. The United States just left the Paris Climate Agreement. All these things are feeling more difficult for us. My mantra of my work is the good future. It has 5 pieces. And I think this is really important to education. People, planet, purpose, peace, and prosperity. Not just prosperity. This is the biggest change today. If you're talking to people between 20 and 45, they want more than just prosperity. This is true in all countries. We want focus on people, the planet, the environment, the purpose. This is fundamentally changing what we are in terms of how we educate and how we want to learn. So I'll start with this because I think it's a good introduction to what's happening today. Basically, we are surrounded by technology, not just mobile phones and cloud computing, but also artificial intelligence, genome editing, the idea of changing the human genome to solve cancer, electric cars, going to Mars. I mean, it's like literally science fiction is becoming science fact. The fact that I can speak to this machine and I can ask any question and then a follow-up question I'll show you, and the machine will speak to me like Scarlett Johansson, right? In her voice, and actually makes sense. On this device now I have my bank, my songs, my music, my dating, all of those things are on here now. It's a mind-boggling science fiction scenario. This is the most challenging of all. The machine that understands everything. Right now, artificial intelligence is in English. It will not understand Hindi very well, or Chinese or Arabic, but that is coming. It is trained on the Western internet, but rapidly changing. A world where a machine can think, where a machine can pretend to be human, could be very confusing. We will have to think about what that means, because now we're heading into what I call the 3 revolutions, 3 very big revolutions, which in my view is 90% opportunity. The digital revolution, going away from paper, having virtual work, using technology to learn quicker, to act quicker. The sustainability revolution. By 2030, if you're not going green, people will not like you. This is a fact. No matter what is happening in certain places around the world, we're not going back to fossil fuel periods. And this is good news, because the World Economic Forum says 100 million new jobs in the green economy. It's a very big shift in this region. The last one is the purpose revolution, which I talked about earlier, and I'll get back to that in a second. But here's the number one thing. Many of you are this age, right? The millennials, the Gen Y, between 25 and 40, they're juggling all these changes. And they're frustrated. Frustrated from COVID, frustrated from the wars, frustrated from Europe. And they're juggling all this, and they are coming into the money because people my age, family money is shifting to their children. So in 5 years, these people will hold the power between 25 and say 40, 45. And they will act differently. They have different demands, quite a different worldview. And part of that view is this: to live in a future where it's just about prosperity is a death wish. If we are just going to pursue more profit and growth, we're not going to be well, because right now we're at the peak of this. We need to think further and think wider about what the future is. This is how technology is already evolving. Machines that can do handwriting, machines that can do math, machines that can pass the bar exam to be a lawyer, Machines that can do grade school math and generate code. All the lines towards what machines can do are going up. Now, we all know that the machine cannot do really good code. Not yet. The machine can translate perfectly yet. But this is really going to make a vast difference in the very near future. So welcome to my special guest, Elon Musk, who is going to provide a short input on this.
I do think AI will dramatically affect education because the AI is an extremely knowledgeable teacher, very patient, will be almost always correct, and can tailor the lessons specifically to the child. So it would be like each child has, Einstein for teachers would be something quite profound.
So Elon is not my friend, of course. Elon is also not right, because an AI will never be like Einstein, because Einstein was a person. Einstein had compassion, right? He had intuition. In fact, he was a polymath, right? He was into the arts. He was into music. He was not just into building physical things. An AI is not always correct, right? Because an AI takes the information from the public structure of information that's there. So it has the same bias, same route of mistakes. But the AI is a power tool. You go to Google and you say best education in the Arabic-speaking region, and Google gives you results, and you can ask the same from ChatGPT and have a conversation in Arabic if you want. That is a very big difference. But before we go further, we should really define what artificial intelligence is. Demis Hassabis from DeepMind says, artificial intelligence is computer systems that can turn data and information into knowledge. That is a good definition. This is machines that can use data and generate knowledge. What kind of knowledge does a machine have? It has no body. It doesn't understand real life. It does not care about emotions, does not know what it is. It has logical knowledge, factual knowledge. And that is what we need to use. Because no matter how hard I try, IBM Watson can memorize the entire Wikipedia in 2 minutes. IBM Watson can read all the books about philosophy in probably 30 seconds. But does that mean IBM Watson is a philosopher? No, it has the information. IBM Watson has the information. Does not make the machine a person just because you have information. It makes it a lookup engine. So we have intelligent assistants. That's programs like this one. I will show you the example later from Thomson & Reuters. It's an artificially intelligent legal system. Very powerful if you're a lawyer, you should think about that. So that's basically a system that can assist and learn. Generative AI makes images and videos. I'm a filmmaker. I use this all the time. My favorite tool is DALL-E and Runway. Those are tools that you can use to simulate images and get ideas. However, when you do this, you realize it makes really interesting ideas, but after a while, they kind of look the same. They're not creative like a human, but they're very powerful. The next one is conversational AI. That's an AI that you can speak to. There's a famous bank in Sweden called Klarna. It's not really a bank, it's a financial service company. And they have replaced 900 customer service agents with a chatbot. And 80% of those transactions are quicker and more successful and, of course, almost free compared to people. So this is happening all around us.
It's impossible not to appreciate the sheer grandeur of our world. And yet there remains one forest unexplored by humans. A forest filled with life, with creatures living in the burrows of the firs, the branches of the trees, by the flowing streams, and the mossy bogs.
So this video was generated without cameras, without footage, without people, without actors, by artificial intelligence. And the voice of Attenborough is not his voice, it's the AI. You can make some pretty impressive things only with your computer. Think about what that would do for education. If I can make a video about my topic, you can give your students an assignment and say, make a video about the future of Abu Dhabi. And they could use this to generate really interesting things. So now artificial intelligence is coming to the real world. Driving.
Close here. It's traffic.
It's very
Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully.
You get the point. Waymo works in San Francisco and in Austin, Texas. It's very hard to get self-driving cars to work in Athens or Paris. That is because it's super complex and we think it's routine, but it's not really routine. The other day I used ChatGPT and I asked it about my work. I said, is Gerd Leonhard a person that we should pay attention to? And it gave me a really interesting answer. But there was a scary moment when I asked ChatGPT, how many PhDs does Gerd Leonhard have? And then it said, Gerd has 4 PhDs. It was complete fabrication because I keep asking. Just wants to satisfy me, I guess. I don't have a PhD, sorry to say. But ChatGPT says I do, so that I guess I have to find it somewhere. So we're going into a world where we have intelligent assistants. That's basically better software. That's 95%. Google Maps, Gmail, autocomplete, generative AI. Then artificial intelligence becomes more elaborate, like Salesforce, Einstein for CRM and things like this. And then we have artificial general intelligence, a machine that can be more intelligent in the majority of all tasks compared to human. That's what OpenAI wants to build. And my argument is that we should be very careful about how far we go with this. Everybody wants to be more efficient and faster and better. The CEO of OpenAI says, we're going to go to a future where AI has the phenomenal ability to think, create, understand, and reason. Now, I want the AI to do the job. I want it to be competent and not give me bad answers. I do not want it to create. I do not want it to pretend to be human. What's the point? What will be the point inventing a machine that has an IQ of 5,000? You know, if Einstein was here today, he had allegedly an IQ of 152. If Einstein would stand here and explain his theory to us, nobody would understand a single word he's talking about. If Einstein had an IQ of 500, he would be godlike. An artificial intelligence that has an IQ of 5,000, we could not control. OpenAI is building an empire, looking to build a digital human. This is not a joke. This is their official agenda. Samsung Neon, for example, a digital human. Now, I ask you, why would we want to build a digital human? We don't need digital humans. We need digital tools that make us more human. That's the whole point. This is a tool. It's technology. Some of that is good because it helps me be better and faster and save time. But to merge with technology, I think that cannot be the goal of society.
There are plenty of experts predicting that by the end of this decade, so 6 years from now, we will have AI systems that exceed human capabilities in every dimension.
Stuart Russell, UC Berkeley. You should read his last book called Human Compatible. He says by 2030, we will have a machine that can be smarter than all humans combined. In education, the next 10 years will bring more change than the previous 100 years. And this is not hyperbole. The next 10 years, renewable energy, nuclear fusion, quantum computing, artificial general intelligence, space travel. It's hard to comprehend. And of course, then we have all the geopolitics around it today. So let's review my argument. I think this is very important for education and training. Why humans aren't machines. There are people, especially in Silicon Valley and in China, saying that humans are really just machines, but very complicated. So organisms are algorithms. If this was the case, we'd be sitting here and talking about programming humans. You know, like education would make humans. But we don't make people in education, right? We grow them. We don't make them. So what's the difference here? The computer brain, we always think of that as a brain, is one-dimensional. It's about data. The human existence is about experiences, touching things, feeling things, hearing things, smelling things. There's 50 things that computers don't do. So intelligence is not consciousness, and the real world is larger than what the AI sees. That means when we use artificial intelligence, we use it like a tool. All of you use Google Maps. Waze or whatever you're using. But how do you use it? If you're driving in this city, you would sometimes say, no, that can't be true, or it's completely wrong, or you question it. This is what we do. Right? Is the tool not good? It's plenty good and it's getting better, but there's many things it doesn't know. We have to ask this question with AI. What is the context? Why does it decide? We need to always keep the human in the loop. Keep the human in charge, even if it takes longer, if it's less efficient. Machines don't think. Machines don't have hunches. They don't understand. What machines do is they calculate and they look for the most probable answer. We should not look to the machines to find any sense, but that will, of course, improve because machines will look like they can offer some sense. This is, of course, how they get better. We should get away from this kind of Minority Report, download a helicopter program. I went to University of Bonn, and then I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And this is what I did there. Today we find out life isn't about functioning, right? It's about creation. It's about making things, not about functioning. This is not how real life works. Many philosophers and therapists will tell you we don't think or learn with the brain. It's not just the brain that makes our learning. It's everything around it. It's physical. And this is why I think in the future we're going to use more tools to deal with the brain, but still we're not going to be downloading. We have to experience things. That's why this kind of classroom I find very interesting, because obviously it has lots of possibilities. Do those kids know how to build a sandcastle? Do they know how to negotiate a conflict? Do they know how to play music? And you would say playing music is useless. It's not, because it teaches us many other things. So here's Sal from the Khan Academy talking about what he thinks is the future.
Using AI for probably the biggest positive transformation that education has ever seen. And the way we're going to do that is by giving every student on the planet an artificially intelligent but amazing personal tutor. And we're going to give every teacher on the planet an amazing artificially intelligent teaching assistant.
We're going to give every student an AI tutor, and that will make all the difference. That's like saying I'm going to give every person working on construction a nail gun so they can shoot quicker. A tool is a tool. How do I use it? How does it actually create something? Knowledge alone is not enough. When computers have knowledge, then knowledge alone is just like being a computer. We have to think further and also say, trust. This is the essence of human relationships, trust. In education, we need to teach children and adults and ourselves how to find trust. Trust isn't digital. Trust is not a mouse click. So what is a human way to learn? The human way to learn is embodied. You know what that means? In the body. It means everything that we do, listening, touching, hearing, feeling, is together. Humans don't distinguish between information, data, and potential imagination scenarios. Machines can't do that. We have 8 different kinds of intelligence: intellectual, emotional, social, kinesthetic, musical. The machine can be super helpful by helping us with our actual augmentation of logic and speed. The machine will not tell us whether it's the truth or not. I mean, we can see in social media that's become a useless question. Truth is not important. What is important in social media is where you click to sell the advertising. It's not about anything else. AI agent. It's a machine that does things on your behalf. This agent, for example, looks for information about going to Santorini, the Greek island, and then it finds a plan. And then I ask it to book everything for me. Expedia kind of does this already. And this agent actually does the whole thing. It doesn't just research, it actually buys the ticket. It's called AI agenting. People think that AI agenting will become the new normal. When there is a routine that is without judgment, it's a commodity process, the machines will learn it. So that goes for financial fact-finding, for organization, for manufacturing. This is the paradigm. Humans doing routine today. The future is machines doing the routine. If your job is, say, 30% routine, The machines can take 30%. You can be faster. You can do other things. Right? If your job is 90% routine, like filtering and fact-checking, then you're in more trouble. This is the shift in workplace. We have to get used to a world that's beyond routine. We should not teach our children and our grown-ups to do better routine. The machines are learning the routine. So Thomson Reuters says every professional will have their own personal assistant in the near future. Banking, financial, insurance, oil and gas, supply chain, and so on. These are agents doing the work for us. This is an app from Thomson Reuters. It's called the Co-Counsel. We want to avoid this. It's called the black box. We want to avoid having a system of artificial intelligence that makes decisions, that does things without us understanding what in the world it's doing. Immigration, social security, politics. The Trump administration is saying they want to replace the World Health Organization with an AI. Can you imagine that? The thought boggles the mind, like many things that are happening there. This would be a black box. We don't want black boxes. Black boxes are fine if it's about airplanes, but not for difficult environments. We need to keep the human in the loop, not take the human out. This is what's happening with knowledge work. We have the obvious part, the explicit knowledge, the knowledge that is about knowing facts. This is objective, logical, codified. We should not spend much time on this anymore. The machines will eventually get it. We need to spend a lot more time on the red box. If artificial intelligence does this, maybe we can move up and do more of this. This is the tacit knowledge, subjective, cognitive, experiential. This is why we need to teach our kids and students how to be experiential, how to actually do things, how to generate ideas.
The economics of information are about to radically change because we're going to reduce the cost of production of knowledge to zero marginal cost. And this is just a very difficult thing for people to intuit. But in 15 or 20 years' time, we will be producing new scientific, cultural knowledge at almost zero marginal cost.
Mustafa Sulaiman, the head of Microsoft AI, we're going to produce more knowledge at zero cost. What kind of knowledge does this machine have? It has machine knowledge, and for that, it will be good. But you can see why we don't have self-driving cars, because it seems like machine knowledge, but really it's not. 20 years we've talked about self-driving cars. Do you see any here? I mean, we see electric cars, okay. Self-driving? No, because in theory it's like this, but in reality it's not. So we need to think about how we can shore up the work that we do. This is kind of what's happening in learning, and we have those components of learning. And we have to face a fact, I think it's a good fact actually, is that we have artificial intelligence both here, data and information, as well as in knowledge and insight. Limited knowledge, number knowledge. But if you don't avail yourself of this kind of knowledge, you're missing the tool. It's like you're carpenter and you're looking for your hammer. Some people say, we're going to become useless humans because the machines do all the work. I don't think that's true. I think our routine becomes useless. And this is a challenge, like my own routine of research. For an event like this, I would do 50 hours of research about your country, about the context. Now I spend 5 hours using better sources, ChatGPT, DALL-E, YouTube, and I get to a very similar place. So I'm still going to spend 40 more hours on figuring out what to say, but it's faster, it's quicker, it's more immersive. We have to keep in mind really what's happening with AI is that we're looking at 4 pieces. Cognification, basically making things smart. For example, supply chain. Augmentation, helping us to understand, translate languages. Virtualization, go into virtual work environment, and maybe some automation. These things are good, but they're fundamental change to the workplace. If we made all the processes in the city smart, traffic, garbage, pollution, emergency response, if we made that all cognified, or if we make it smart, we could save 60% of energy. That's without even switching the source of energy. Just all of that stuff is basically in the cards and happening now. This is a great report from the University of Catalonia from Spain. Support for teaching staff, for example, for grading, all the stuff that AI can do. If a teacher has to do lots of grading, we can use an AI to help with the grading. I talked about this earlier. All the great things that AI allows us: access, hybrid learning, equal environment. But then we have the flip side, the things that we have to deal with. We must now start to learn and do different things in learning, not just STEM. We must go beyond the explicit. We must have a different curriculum that doesn't just focus on the explicit. We must move towards just-in-time learning, not just in case. So we have to learn differently. We have to be aware of the over-reliance on technology. If your kids can ask anything from a machine and get any answer, make a video, will it make them lazy? Will it make them dumb? We asked the same question when the internet first arrived. It's a very similar question. Is a tool. We need to use the tool to get better. And we have to keep the limitations in mind, just like you question Google Maps. You move beyond Google Maps. So we have new paradigms in learning. We talked about Finland earlier. It's a very good example of how they use new competencies. In Finland, you go to school and you teach one topic through all the classes for the half year. You do that in language and maths and history, all of it together. This is the new public library called the OD in Helsinki. That is more like a club that you go to. So people are hanging out playing music, and then there's digital resources, there's speaking events. You've never seen this kind of library. In Dubai is a similar place called the Museum for the Future, which is an interesting angle in the same direction. So very powerful example for those new paradigms. We're going into a future where we have to think about what I call the androrhythms, the human things, not just the algorithms. 10 years ago, we used to say, if you want to be successful, you have to be good with algorithms, programming, engineering. Turns out that window is closing because computers can do that now. We have to think about androrhythms, creativity, imagination, ethics, empathy. The same stuff that we thought 20 years ago was useless. I mean, if you went to get an MBA, nobody would talk about empathy or consciousness. It's like, what? We're talking about numbers, projections. But today it turns out we need both. Not just either or, STEM and Hacky, both at the same time. Because this paradigm, hyper-efficiency, will not get you to the future. It will get you to the past. It's not enough to be more efficient and to be faster. It's much more about learning how to do things differently. What we really need to learn is human agency, imagination, compassion, empowerment, courage. How do you teach kids, adults? How do we teach ourselves these things? These are character traits. The biggest complaint I have about my own education is that it taught me that if I study a lot, I will be successful. That's just simply not true. If I create a lot, if I invent a lot, then I'll be successful. And maybe I find that with the studies, but it's not the same thing. We have to look beyond this. I think this is the key for the future. So to summarize, STEM and Hacky, right? Those two things at the same time.
Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence. For the very first time, we have closed the gap. The technology divide has been completely closed. And this is the reason why so many people can engage artificial intelligence.
So Jensen says we should not study coding, not study technology as much. We should focus on the thing beyond it. I think it's good if we can do both. You know? I mean, of course, I'm 64, right? So I like my tools, I like my studies, and I think I would like to have both. First, number one, grow the future mindset. It should be part of everybody's job to figure out what the future holds. Bill Gates says 45 minutes every day spent in the future. And we're not talking about watching Netflix or, watching science fiction, but reading, studying, looking at what's coming. You spend 45 minutes per day in the future. I guarantee you in 1 year, you'll be so far ahead of most people in your environment that you become the futurist. You become the person they go to for answers on the future. Train equally in STEM and Hacky. We should spend the same money in arts, education, training, ethics, and so on than we spend in training technology and science. Focus on life skills. How do we do that? That's difficult. To teach life skills at a school, Okay, how exactly do we do that? Leave that open for later. With AI, forget about making AI that's like a human. Let's focus on making AI that gets the job done. Competence. Transcend the explicit knowledge. If you have kids, you got to think about that. Transcend the idea of just having book knowledge, saving it for later. Case studies, focus groups. I teach MBA classes, and it's amazing to me how many people are asking for case studies. It's like, why is a case study from 10 years going to apply when I get out of school 5 years from now, when the world is upside down? Let's stay optimistic, especially today. As we see the future, so we act, and as we act, so we become. We see the future badly, we're going to act badly. I've noticed when I speak to people and they say this will never happen because people are not good. If you assume that people are bad, bad things will happen to you. This is how it works. So now we have to think about how do we stay optimistic? How do we keep the humans in the loop and never put efficiency over humanity? When we put efficiency over humanity, we're on the road towards decline. Very important to keep in mind. No matter whether it's more expensive or takes longer, humans should be first in line, not just humans, but the planet in general. You've heard a lot probably about social emotional learning, SEL. That's clearly the case for the future. We need to shore that up. As I said earlier in my speech, you work like a robot will take your job. If you learn like a robot, you'll never have a job. Let's stop acting like robots. I think our future could be really good using technology. Let's put the human inside. Let's use technology to make things faster. If technology helps us to administer social security, to improve defense, we should use that, but we should not substitute the human in this process. We should use better tools and stay in charge ourselves. So the future fit education principles. First, embrace technology, but don't become it. If you don't embrace technology, you're going to lose. Clearly, this is the case. Of course, I'm a bit of a geek, so I like to try things out. But it amazes me how many people don't know how to use the most simple tools that are available now to improve their performance and their work. Think about this, right? Cognification, virtualization. Think about all that stuff. We talk about a holistic approach to education, a circular approach, a sustainable approach. And finally, of course, this is now a big opportunity to rehumanize education. We use technology to make that better. We don't use technology to dehumanize education. That will be the wrong direction, because when you get dehumanized, you are a commodity. It's not good to be a commodity. Never is, never will be.